I was standing in my parents' backyard, 7 months pregnant, surrounded by decorations I'd spent weeks planning, when my mother-in-law stood up and tapped her champagne glass. Everyone turned to look at her, and I knew, the way you know when something terrible is about to happen, that whatever came next would destroy this moment. "I have an announcement," Linda said, her hand dramatically on her stomach. "I'm pregnant too." The room erupted. Women rushed to hug her. My aunts, my cousins, my friends, they swarmed around Linda asking questions, squealing with excitement. My baby shower became her pregnancy announcement party in 30 seconds. I stood there, frozen, 7 months pregnant and suddenly invisible. Linda caught my eye across the crowd and smiled. Not a warm grandmother-to-be smile, a victor's smile. "Now my baby will get all the attention," she mouthed at me, knowing no one else was watching. I stayed quiet that day. Let her have her moment. Let everyone believe her lie. Because Linda Patterson was 53 years old, and I was absolutely certain she wasn't pregnant. And I was going to prove it. 9 months later, when Linda's supposed due date arrived, I showed up at her house with documentation that destroyed more than just her fake pregnancy story. I had medical records, bank statements, text messages she thought she'd deleted, and most importantly, I had her husband, my father-in-law, who had no idea his wife had been lying about being pregnant for 9 months. What I revealed that day didn't just expose Linda's attention-seeking fraud. It exposed affairs, financial fraud, and secrets that ended her marriage within a week. But let me back up, because you need to understand how we got here. You need to know about Linda Patterson's obsession with being the center of attention. The pattern of lies that led to the fake pregnancy, and the 9-month investigation I conducted while pretending to believe her. You need to understand that this wasn't just about a woman lying about being pregnant. It was about a mother-in-law so desperate to steal her daughter-in-law's moment that she destroyed her own life to do it. My name is Sofia Martinez, and I'm a 31-year-old forensic accountant in Phoenix, Arizona. I know, forensic accountant sounds like the most boring job in the world, but it's actually fascinating. I investigate financial fraud for law firms and insurance companies. I follow money trails, find hidden accounts, expose embezzlement. I'm trained to see patterns in numbers that other people miss, to spot the lie hidden in spreadsheets. This training would become very useful when dealing with Linda Patterson. I met Jake Patterson at a friend's wedding. He was the best man, I was a bridesmaid, and we were paired together for the ceremony. Jake was 33, an architect with his own small firm, with sandy brown hair, warm hazel eyes, and the kind of easy confidence that came from being well-liked his entire life. "This is the part where I'm supposed to make small talk," he said as we walked down the aisle during the rehearsal. "But honestly, I'm terrible at small talk. Want to just skip to the good stuff?" "What's the good stuff?" I asked, amused. "Real conversation. Like, what's something you're passionate about that most people find boring?" I laughed. "Financial fraud investigation. Your turn. Sustainable architecture. We're perfect for each other. We both have careers that make people's eyes glaze over at parties." We talked for 3 hours at the reception. He told me about designing affordable housing that was also beautiful and environmentally responsible. I told him about the satisfaction of catching someone who thought they were too clever to get caught. We exchanged numbers. He texted me before I even made it home. Our relationship was easy from the start. Same values, same sense of humor, same vision for the future. We both wanted kids eventually, a house with character, careers that mattered. Jake was kind, straightforward, financially responsible. After years of dating men who were either commitment-phobic or financially irresponsible, Jake felt like finding someone who spoke my language. We got engaged after a year and a half. Jake proposed at the Botanical Garden in Phoenix at sunset, with a ring he'd designed himself, incorporating my birthstone into a unique setting that was perfect without being ostentatious. It was thoughtful, personal, exactly right. We called our families to share the news. My parents, who'd immigrated from Mexico when I was 5, were thrilled. "He's a good man," my father said in Spanish. "He sees your value. That matters." Jake's father, Robert, was genuinely happy. "Welcome to the family, Sophia. We're lucky to have you." But Linda, Jake's mother, had a different reaction. "Engaged? Well, that's certainly fast." A pause. "Have you set a date?" "Because I've been thinking about renewing my vows with Robert. Our 30th anniversary is coming up. It would be special to do a big celebration. Maybe you could wait until after that, so we don't have two big family events too close together? Jake frowned. Mom, your anniversary isn't for 2 years, is it? Time flies. Still, no need to rush into marriage. You've only been together, 18 months? Long enough to know she's the one, Jake said firmly. After we hung up, I asked Jake about his mother. Is she always like that? Like what? Competitive. Making your engagement about her vow renewal. Jake looked uncomfortable. She likes attention, but she means well. That phrase, she means well, would become very familiar over the next few years. I met Linda properly a week later at a dinner at Jake's parents' house in Scottsdale. Their home was in an expensive golf community, all Southwestern style with terracotta and turquoise accents. Linda answered the door in full makeup and jewelry, dressed like she was going to a cocktail party, not a family dinner. Linda Patterson was 51, blonde, bottled, perfectly maintained, thin from religious Pilates attendance, and deeply invested in looking younger than she was. Everything about her was curated: the highlights, the Botox, the designer casual clothes, the subtle but expensive jewelry. She looked like a Scottsdale housewife from Central Casting. Sophia! She air-kissed near my cheeks. Jake has told me so much about you. A forensic accountant. How fascinating. Robert, doesn't Sophia remind you of that woman from that TV show? The one who investigates murders? I investigate financial fraud, not murders, I said, smiling. Though numbers can tell their own stories. I'm sure they can, Linda said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Come in, come in. I've made dinner. Well, I ordered catering, but I plated it myself. I wanted everything to be special for Jake's fiancé. Dinner was uncomfortable. Linda dominated the conversation, talking about her charity work, her tennis league, the fundraiser she was planning. Every topic somehow circled back to her. When Jake mentioned my recent promotion, Linda said, That's nice, dear. Robert, didn't I tell you I'm being considered for the hospital auxiliary board? They're voting next week. When I complimented the house, Linda launched into a 30-minute story about the renovation, barely pausing to let anyone else speak. Robert, Jake's father, was quiet and pleasant, but clearly used to his wife taking center stage. Jake seemed not to notice how much his mother dominated every conversation. After dinner, Linda pulled out photo albums. I want to show Sophia baby pictures of Jake, she announced. The next hour was Linda narrating Jake's entire childhood, with herself as the hero of every story. This was when Jake won the science fair. I helped him with his project, of course. This was his graduation. I planned the party. This was his first architecture award. I always knew he'd be successful because I encouraged his creativity from birth. Every achievement was somehow Linda's accomplishment. Every milestone was her story to tell. Your mother is a lot, I said carefully to Jake as we drove home. She's just proud, Jake said. She put a lot into raising me. Dad worked constantly when I was growing up, so Mom was the primary parent. I think she just wants credit for that. But does everything have to be about her? She's harmless, Jake said. Just ignore the dramatics. That's what I do. But I'm a forensic accountant. Ignoring things isn't what I do. I noticed patterns, and I was already seeing a pattern with Linda Patterson. The wedding planning proved me right. Linda had opinions about everything and presented them as helpful suggestions. The venue I chose was a bit informal for a Patterson family wedding. My dress was sweet, though perhaps not quite elegant enough. The flowers were pretty, though have you considered orchids instead? They're more sophisticated. Every suggestion was framed as being helpful, but the subtext was clear. My choices weren't good enough. The worst was the guest list. Linda wanted to invite 200 people, her friends, her charity connections, people Jake barely knew. A Patterson wedding is a community event, she explained. People expect to be invited. It's our wedding, I said firmly. We want something intimate. 75 guests maximum. Linda's face fell dramatically. But what will people think? What will I tell my friends when they ask why they weren't invited? Tell them it was a small wedding, Jake said, backing me up. Mom, this is our decision, Linda cried. Actual tears. I just wanted to share my son's special day with the people who've been part of our lives. But clearly, what I want doesn't matter. The guilt trip worked on Jake. We compromised on 120 guests, most of them Linda's friends. The wedding day itself was beautiful, despite Linda's attempts to make it about her. She wore a dress that was almost bridal, cream-colored, elegant, drawing attention. She positioned herself in every family photo, always front and center. During her mother of the groom speech, she talked for 12 minutes, mostly about raising Jake, barely mentioning me. "My son is my greatest achievement," she concluded, dabbing her eyes. "And now I'm not losing a son, I'm gaining a daughter. Though, of course, no one will ever love Jake the way I do." My maid of honor whispered, "Did she just imply you can't love him as much as she does?" "She absolutely did," I whispered back, "but I love Jake enough to ignore his mother's narcissism." We honeymooned in Italy, came back to our new house in Tempe, and started our married life. For a year, things were manageable. Linda called Jake constantly, daily, sometimes twice daily. She dropped by unannounced regularly. She had opinions about our house, our furniture, our decisions, but Jake and I were happy. We had good careers, good friends, a good marriage. Linda was annoying but manageable. Then I got pregnant. We'd been trying for 6 months when the test finally came back positive. I was 30 years old. We owned a home. We were financially stable. It was the perfect time. Jake cried when I told him. "We're going to be parents," he kept saying, holding me. "Sophia, we're going to have a baby." We decided to wait until the 12-week mark to tell people. But when we finally shared the news, Linda's reaction was off. Pregnant. "Oh my goodness." She hugged Jake, then me, then Jake again. "I'm going to be a grandmother. This is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me. Not to us or to our family. To her. This pregnancy was something happening to Linda. "When are you due?" she asked. "February 15th, I said. "February? That's a terrible birth month. Everyone's tired of winter by then. You should have gotten pregnant earlier so you could have a summer baby." "I don't think that's how it works, Mom," Jake said. Over the next few months, Linda became increasingly involved in my pregnancy. She bought baby clothes without asking what we wanted. She told people at her church that her baby was coming in February. She posted on Facebook about becoming a grandmother, with photos of herself, barely mentioning me. "Your mom is acting like she's the one having a baby," I told Jake when I was 5 months pregnant. "She's excited," Jake said. "First grandchild. Let her be involved." There's involved, and then there's treating my pregnancy like her accomplishment. "She's harmless," Jake said again. "Just let her be excited." But forensic accountants are trained to spot patterns. And I was seeing a clear pattern. Linda couldn't stand not being the center of attention. And my pregnancy was getting attention she felt should be hers. When I was 6 months pregnant, we started planning the baby shower. My mom and my sister offered to host it. "Let us do this," my mom said. "You just show up and enjoy." But Linda insisted on being involved. As the paternal grandmother, I should help plan, she announced. It's tradition. My mom, being gracious, agreed to co-host. This was a mistake. Linda tried to take over everything. She wanted to change the venue from my parents' backyard to a country club. She wanted to invite 80 people instead of 40. She wanted an elaborate theme instead of the simple, elegant shower my mom had planned. "It's Sophia's shower," my mom said firmly in Spanish, which Linda didn't speak. "We're doing it our way." "What did she say?" Linda demanded. "She said we appreciate your input," I translated diplomatically, "but we're keeping it simple." Linda's smile was tight. "Of course, simple. How practical." The shower was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon when I was 7 months pregnant. My mom and sister spent days preparing. Homemade food, beautiful decorations in soft yellows and greens, games, a gorgeous cake. It was perfect, and that's when Linda decided she needed her own moment. The baby shower started beautifully. 50 guests, my family, Jake's family, friends, co-workers, gathered in my parents' backyard under string lights and paper lanterns. I wore a yellow maternity dress, my pregnant belly obvious and celebrated. People brought gifts, played games, ate my mom's amazing Mexican food. I felt loved, supported, excited about becoming a mother. For 2 hours, it was perfect. Then Linda stood up and tapped her champagne glass. Everyone, May I have your attention?" She was wearing a flowing pink dress that I suddenly realized looked strategically empire-waisted, possibly concealing— No way. The conversations died down. People turned to look at Linda, who was standing in the center of the crowd, hand dramatically placed on her stomach. "I didn't want to steal Sophia's thunder," Linda began, though her smile suggested otherwise. "But I have an announcement that's just too exciting to keep quiet." My stomach dropped. I knew. Somehow I already knew. I'm pregnant too. Linda beamed, spreading her arms wide. "Can you believe it? I'm 53 years old and I'm going to have a baby. And it's due in September, so our babies will only be 7 months apart. They'll basically be siblings." The reaction was explosive. Women shrieked and rushed to Linda. My aunts, my friends, even my own sister moved toward her, asking questions. "Is it really possible at your age? How did this happen? Are you seeing a fertility specialist? Oh my God, this is amazing!" Within seconds, my baby shower had become Linda's pregnancy announcement party. I stood there, 7 months pregnant, holding a plate of cake, suddenly invisible. Jake looked as shocked as I felt, his mouth literally hanging open. His father, Robert, looked confused, almost alarmed. Linda was eating up the attention, describing pregnancy symptoms and talking about how she'd just known something was different, and how she'd taken a test last week and nearly fainted when it was positive. "This is God's miracle," she gushed. "Robert and I had given up on having more children. This is our rainbow baby, our late-in-life blessing." I watched Robert's face. He looked absolutely baffled. Not happy, not excited, confused. He caught my eye across the crowd and his expression clearly said, "I have no idea what she's talking about." That's when I knew for certain. Linda Patterson was lying. She wasn't pregnant. This was a scheme for attention, to steal my moment, to make my baby shower about her. But I couldn't prove it. Not in that moment. So I stood there, smiling stiffly, as everyone celebrated Linda's miracle pregnancy at my baby shower. My mom caught my eye from across the yard. She looked furious. She pushed through the crowd to me, speaking rapid Spanish. "This is disrespectful." "Should I say something?" "No," I said quietly. "Let her have this. We'll see how this plays out." Linda caught my eye across the crowd. She was surrounded by women, glowing from attention, and she looked directly at me and smiled. Then she mouthed clearly, "Now my baby will get all the attention." That smile, that deliberate, triumphant smile, it confirmed everything. This was planned. This was intentional sabotage. Jake came over, still looking shocked. Did she really just announce a pregnancy at your baby shower?" "She did. He ran his hand through his hair. "Should I talk to her?" "This is incredibly inappropriate." "Not now," I said. "Let's just get through this." But the shower was ruined. The rest of the afternoon, every conversation included Linda and her pregnancy. People asked me about my baby as an afterthought, then immediately pivoted to asking about Linda's miracle baby. The gifts I opened were noted. But Linda got more comments about, "Oh, you'll need these things in September too." My mom's beautiful cake said Baby Martinez, but Linda stood beside me in every photo, her hand on her stomach, stealing focus. When the party finally ended, Linda hugged me goodbye. "I hope I didn't overshadow your day, sweetie. I just couldn't keep the secret any longer." "Isn't this exciting? Our babies will grow up together." "Exciting," I repeated flatly. After the last guest left, my mom and I cleaned up in silence. Finally, she said in Spanish, "That woman is lying." "You know that, right?" "I know. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But I'm going to prove it." Jake and I drove home in tense silence. Finally, Jake said, "I had no idea. She didn't tell me she was pregnant. She didn't tell anyone in the family. Did she tell your father?" He looked as shocked as I felt. "This is weird, Sophia. Even for my mom, this is weird." "It's more than weird," I said. "It's a lie. You don't know that, Jake, your mother is 53 years old. The odds of natural pregnancy at that age are infinitesimal. And even if it were possible, don't you think she would have mentioned it before announcing it at my baby shower? Don't you think she would have told your father first?" Jake was quiet. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your mother lied about being pregnant to steal attention at my baby shower. And I'm going to prove it. That's insane. Why would she do that? Because she can't stand not being the center of attention, I said. Think about it, Jake. Every event we've had, our engagement, our wedding, my pregnancy, she's found a way to make it about her. This is just the most extreme version. But faking a pregnancy, that's not just attention-seeking, that's something else. Exactly, I said. That's why I need to prove it. Because if I'm wrong, I owe her an apology. But if I'm right, everyone needs to know what she's capable of. The next day, I started my investigation. It's what I do. Follow evidence, find patterns, expose fraud. I just never thought I'd be investigating my mother-in-law. First, I called Jake's father. Robert, can we talk? Just you and me? We met for coffee the next day. Robert Patterson was 65, a semi-retired engineer, calm and steady, the complete opposite of his attention-seeking wife. What's on your mind, Sophia? Linda's pregnancy announcement yesterday. Did you know about it beforehand? Robert's expression darkened. No, that was the first I'd heard of it. Don't you think that's strange? That she wouldn't tell her husband she was pregnant? Robert was quiet for a long moment. Sophia, I appreciate you being direct, so I'll be direct back. Linda and I haven't been intimate in over 2 years. Our marriage has been struggling for a while. So if Linda is pregnant, the baby isn't mine. My forensic accountant brain started clicking pieces into place. Have you confronted her about this? I tried. She claims it's a miracle, that these things happen, that I must have forgotten. But Sophia, I didn't forget. We haven't shared a bedroom in 2 years. We're basically roommates at this point. So either she's lying about being pregnant, I said slowly, or she's pregnant by someone else. Or she's delusional, Robert added. Linda has been different lately, more desperate for attention, more competitive, especially with you. With me specifically? She's jealous of you, Robert said bluntly. You're younger, successful, having Jake's baby. You're getting attention and affection that she wants. I think announcing a fake pregnancy is exactly something she'd do to steal your spotlight. Will you help me prove it? Robert nodded. Tell me what you need. Over the next 3 weeks, I conducted a thorough investigation. I documented everything, medical records. I called Linda's doctor's office, pretending to be her, and asked about pregnancy confirmation appointments. There were none scheduled. When I pushed, claiming I'd lost my paperwork, they confirmed that Linda hadn't been seen for pregnancy-related care at all. Pharmacy records. No prescriptions for prenatal vitamins. No folic acid. Nothing that would indicate preparing for pregnancy. Credit card statements. Robert gave me access to their joint account. No purchases of pregnancy tests, prenatal vitamins, maternity clothes, or baby items. The only medical charges were for Linda's regular dermatology appointments, Botox, and her personal trainer. Physical observation. I started attending the same fitness classes as Linda. She did high-intensity interval training, heavy weights, intense core work. Nothing a pregnant woman at her stage should be doing. Social media. Linda posted constantly about being pregnant, but always in ways that didn't show her body. Faces only or photos cropped above the waist. Never a visible pregnant belly. Despite claiming to be 3 months, then 4 months, then 5 months along. But the smoking gun came from something unexpected. Linda's phone. During a family dinner at their house when Linda was 4 months pregnant, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while using the bathroom. I saw a text notification pop up from a contact named Kyle. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same hotel? My forensic accountant instincts kicked in. I grabbed the phone. Linda's passcode was Jake's birthday, easy, and quickly scanned recent messages. What I found was worse than fake pregnancy. Linda had been having an affair. For 6 months. With a guy named Kyle who was 34 years old, younger than Jake. The messages were explicit, frequent, and damning. And there was more. Messages about Linda funneling money from the joint account into a separate account Robert didn't know about. Over $40,000 in the past year, I took photos of everything with my phone. Bank transfer screenshots, explicit messages, hotel receipts, everything I needed. Then I went further back and found something that confirmed my fake pregnancy suspicion. A message exchange from the day before my baby shower. Kyle, you're really going to announce you're pregnant? Linda, it's genius. Everyone will be so shocked they won't question it. And Robert won't dare confront me publicly. By the time they figure out I'm lying, I'll have had 9 months of attention. Kyle, What happens when there's no baby? Linda, I'll say I miscarried. Everyone will feel sorry for me. Even more attention. It's perfect, there it was. Written proof that Linda had planned to fake a pregnancy, steal attention at my baby shower, then fake a miscarriage later for more sympathy. I was shaking with rage as I put her phone back. Linda returned from the bathroom, none the wiser. "You okay, Sophia?" she asked, noticing my expression. "Pregnancy making you uncomfortable?" "I'm fine," I said through gritted teeth. "Just tired." "You should rest more," Linda said, her hand moving to her own stomach. With 2 pregnancies in the family, we both need to take care of ourselves. The following months were surreal. Linda continued the pregnancy charade. She posted updates on Facebook. She accepted congratulations from friends and family. She bought a single onesie for the baby and made sure to photograph it extensively for social media. But there was no pregnancy. Her body showed no changes. She never had morning sickness. She never had a visible bump, always wearing flowing tops and blaming being an older mom for carrying differently. Jake was suspicious, but in denial. "Maybe she is pregnant," he'd say. "It's rare, but not impossible." "Jake, your parents haven't been intimate in 2 years, I finally told him. "Your father told me directly." "Maybe it happened before that and she didn't realize. That's not how pregnancy works." "I don't want to believe my mother would lie about something this big," Jake said, and I heard the pain in his voice. "I know," I said gently, "but we need to be prepared for when the truth comes out." I gave birth to our daughter Mia in mid-February. 8 pounds, 4 ounces of perfect, healthy baby girl. The joy of becoming a mother was immense, overwhelming, wonderful. Linda visited the hospital and made the experience about her. "My granddaughter," she announced loudly, taking photos of herself holding Mia. "And just 7 more months until my baby arrives. The babies will grow up together." Nurses looked confused. Why was a 53-year-old woman claiming to be due in 7 months? I saw the skeptical looks but said nothing. Not yet. Over the next months, Linda continued posting about her pregnancy journey on social media. Photos of her holding baby Mia with captions like, "Can't wait until my baby is here." Photos of baby clothes with, "For my September miracle." Always carefully angled to never show her non-pregnant body. I waited. I watched. I documented. And I planned exactly how to reveal the truth when Linda's fake due date arrived. As September approached, Linda's social media activity intensified. She posted about preparing the nursery. Photos showed a guest room with 1 crib that she clearly bought just for photos. She complained about 3rd trimester exhaustion. She asked for advice about older mothers giving birth, but there was no baby. No visible pregnancy, no doctor appointments, nothing real except the elaborate lie Linda was maintaining. Meanwhile, I was navigating new motherhood with a 6-month-old, dealing with sleepless nights and the overwhelming joy and exhaustion of caring for Mia. Jake was a wonderful father, attentive and hands-on, but he was also dealing with growing suspicions about his mother. "She doesn't look pregnant," he admitted one night in July when Linda's supposed due date was 2 months away. "I've been watching, Sophia. She doesn't look pregnant at all." "I know." "What's going to happen when September comes and there's no baby?" "She'll probably claim a miscarriage," I said. "Get sympathy. That was her plan all along." "How do you know that?" I hadn't told Jake about the messages I'd seen on Linda's phone. About the affair with Kyle, about the embezzled money. I was saving all of that for the right moment. "I just know," I said. "Your mother has been planning this from the beginning. She wanted attention, she got it, and now she'll exit with more sympathy and attention when she loses the baby." "That's sick," Jake said. "If that's true, that's genuinely sick." "It is true," I said, "and I'm going to prove it." Linda's supposed due date was September 15th. As the date approached, she posted on Facebook asking for prayers for a safe delivery and talking about how nervous she was about giving birth at my age. People responded with encouragement, advice, offers to bring meals after the baby arrived. I watched the comments pile up, dozens of people taken in by Linda's performance. On September 10th, Linda posted, "Baby is taking their time. Doctor says we might need to induce next week if nothing happens naturally. So anxious." Except Linda didn't have a doctor. I'd confirmed that. No OB, no pregnancy care, nothing. On September 14th, I called Robert. It's time. Tomorrow's her supposed due date. We need to confront her. What's your plan? Robert asked. Linda is going to announce a stillbirth or late-term miscarriage any day now, I said. She'll get sympathy, attention, and avoid having to produce a baby. But before she can do that, we need to confront her with evidence that she was never pregnant at all. And you have this evidence? I have medical records showing no pregnancy care. I have photos of her doing intensive workouts that no pregnant woman would do. I have testimony from you that you haven't been intimate with her. And Robert, I paused. I have evidence of her affair and financial fraud. Silence on the other end. Then, what kind of financial fraud? She's been moving money from your joint account into a secret account. Over $40,000 in the past year. And she's been having an affair with a 34-year-old man named Kyle. Robert's voice was hollow. I knew the marriage was over. But fraud? An affair? I have proof. Text messages, bank records, hotel receipts, everything. When do we confront her? September 15th, her supposed due date. I'll arrange to be at your house. We'll sit her down and present everything. She won't be able to lie her way out when faced with documentation. The morning of September 15th, I texted Linda. Happy due date. Can I come visit this afternoon? I want to bring Mia to meet you and see how you're feeling. Linda responded, Today isn't great, sweetie. I'm having contractions and might need to go to the hospital. I smiled grimly at the message. She was setting up the fake emergency, the dramatic hospital trip that would end in losing the baby. I texted back, Oh no. Which hospital? I'll meet you there. Long pause. Then, actually the contractions stopped. False alarm. Maybe tomorrow? I'm already nearby, I lied. I'll just stop by for a quick visit. Won't stay long. I showed up at Linda and Robert's house at 2 p.m. Robert had confirmed he'd be home, taking the afternoon off work. Jake was with me, carrying Mia in her car seat, confused about why I'd insisted we visit today, but trusting me. Linda answered the door wearing a flowing tunic and yoga pants. She looked startled to see us, but recovered quickly. Sophia, Jake, and my precious Mia. Come in, come in. We walked into the living room where Robert was already sitting, his face grim. Linda noticed his expression, and her smile faltered slightly. What's going on? She asked, false brightness in her voice. Sit down, Linda, I said calmly. We need to talk. About what? I need to rest. I've been having contractions. You haven't been having contractions, I said. Because you're not pregnant. You've never been pregnant. And today, on your supposed due date, we're going to stop pretending. Linda's face went white, then red. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm pregnant. I'm having a baby. Why would you— Stop, Robert said quietly. Just stop, Linda. I pulled out my tablet and opened the folder I'd been building for 9 months. Let's start with the medical evidence. You've had no prenatal care. No doctor visits, no ultrasounds, no blood work. Your OB's office has no record of you being a patient for pregnancy. I went to a different doctor, Linda said quickly. Someone who specializes in older mothers. Name the doctor, I challenged. Dr. Stevens, in Scottsdale. There's no Dr. Stevens who practices obstetrics in Scottsdale, I said. I checked. Try again. Linda's mouth opened and closed. She looked at Jake. Are you really going to let her talk to me like this? Your pregnant mother? Mom, Jake said, his voice pained. Just tell the truth. Are you really pregnant? Of course I'm pregnant. You're all crazy. She stood up, hand on her flat stomach. I don't have to prove anything to you. Actually, you do, Robert said. Because I know you're not pregnant, Linda. We haven't been intimate in over 2 years. So if you are pregnant, the baby isn't mine. Linda's face transformed. Panic, then calculation. It was artificial insemination. I didn't want to tell you because I knew you'd be upset. I used a sperm donor. That's why I don't have to prove it with medical records. It was done privately. Artificial insemination without your husband's knowledge or consent? I said, that's quite a claim, except you're lying. You're not pregnant, Linda. You never were. And I can prove it. I pulled up photos on my tablet. These are from your Instagram. You doing high-intensity interval training at your gym, lifting heavy weights, doing AB workouts, all in the past 8 months while you claim to be pregnant. No pregnant woman would do these workouts. Linda grabbed for the tablet. Those are old photos. They're time-stamped, I said, holding it away from her. June, July, August of this year. While you were supposedly 6, 7, 8 months pregnant, I was trying to stay fit. Pregnancy fitness is important. Not this kind of fitness, I said. And there's more. Your credit card statements show no purchases of prenatal vitamins, maternity clothes, or baby items except for one onesie you bought for social media photos. I used cash. Linda was getting desperate now, and Robert bought things. I didn't, Robert said flatly. Because you're not pregnant. Linda looked around wildly, searching for support. Jake was staring at her with an expression of betrayed horror. Mom, he said quietly, tell me you didn't fake a pregnancy for attention. I didn't fake anything. You're all ganging up on me. This is cruel, confronting a pregnant woman like this. Then prove you're pregnant, I said calmly. Come with us to the hospital right now. Get an ultrasound. Show us the baby. If you're really 9 months pregnant and due today, there's a baby in there. Show us! Linda's eyes darted around like a trapped animal. I can't go to the hospital right now. I'm too upset. The stress isn't good for the baby. There is no baby, I said. And then I played my final card. I pulled up the screenshots from her phone, the messages with Kyle. But there is an affair. With a 34-year-old named Kyle. These are your text messages, Linda. Want to read them out loud? They're very explicit. Robert stood up, walking over to look at the tablet. His face went gray as he read the messages. 6 months, he said quietly. You've been cheating on me for 6 months. Robert, I can explain. And there's financial fraud, I continued, my voice steady despite the drama unfolding. You've been moving money from your joint account into a hidden account. $40,000 over the past year. I have the bank statements, the transfer records, everything. I handed the tablet to Robert. He scrolled through, his expression moving from shock to devastation to cold fury. And here's the smoking gun, I said, pulling up the messages from the day before my baby shower. Read this one, Robert, the one where Linda and Kyle discuss her plan to fake a pregnancy. Robert read it aloud, his voice shaking. You're really going to announce you're pregnant? Kyle asks. And you responded, it's genius. Everyone will be so shocked they won't question it. And Robert won't dare confront me publicly. By the time they figure out I'm lying, I'll have had 9 months of attention. The room was silent except for the soft sounds of Mia cooing in her car seat, oblivious to the family implosion happening around her. Linda's face crumpled, not with shame or remorse, but with rage. You went through my phone? That's illegal! That's invasion of privacy! You announced a fake pregnancy at my baby shower, I said, my voice hard. You've been lying to your family for 9 months. You've been stealing money from your husband. You've been having an affair. And you're worried about privacy? How dare you? Linda hissed at me. You've been trying to turn Jake against me from the beginning. You're jealous that he loves me more than you. I'm not jealous, I said calmly. I'm just tired of your lies. Jake had been silent, staring at his mother with an expression I'd never seen before, complete disillusionment. Mom, he said finally, you faked being pregnant at Sophia's baby shower. You've been lying for 9 months. Why? Because nobody pays attention to me anymore. Linda exploded. Ever since you got married, ever since she got pregnant, everything's been about Sophia. Poor Sophia having a baby. Let's celebrate Sophia. Sophia this, Sophia that. What about me? I'm your mother. I raised you. I deserve attention too. So you faked a pregnancy, Jake said slowly. You let me believe I was going to have a sibling. You let everyone congratulate you, bring you gifts, plan around your fake due date. You made me worried about you giving birth at your age. All of that was a lie because you were jealous of my wife. It wasn't just jealousy, Linda said, tears streaming down her face now. You don't understand what it's like to become invisible. I'm 53. I'm not young anymore. Nobody looks at me the way they used to. And then Sophia shows up, younger, successful, pregnant, and suddenly I don't exist. I just wanted to matter again. You could have mattered by being a supportive mother and grandmother, Jake said. Instead, you made yourself the villain in our family story. Robert stood up, his voice eerily calm. Linda, I want you to leave. Pack a bag. Stay with a friend. We'll discuss divorce proceedings next week. Robert, please, you cheated on me. You stole from me. You've embarrassed me in front of our entire community with this fake pregnancy. There's nothing to discuss except how to end this marriage. But where will I go? Linda's desperation was palpable now. Go to Kyle's place, I suggested coldly. The one you've been spending your stolen money at. Linda looked at me with pure hatred. This is all your fault. If you hadn't been so perfect, if you hadn't stolen my son, none of this would have happened. No, Jake said firmly. This is your fault, Mom. You chose to lie. You chose to cheat. You chose to steal. Sophia didn't make you do any of that. You made those choices. Linda grabbed her purse from the table, her movements jerky and desperate. Fine, I'll leave. But you'll regret this. All of you. You'll see how much you need me, and I won't be there. We don't need you, Jake said quietly. That's what you never understood. We wanted a relationship with you, but we never needed you. And now we don't even want that. Linda stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Through the window, we watched her get in her car and speed away. The silence she left was heavy. Robert sat down heavily, putting his head in his hands. 32 years of marriage. And I didn't even know who she was. I'm sorry, I said quietly. I know this is devastating. You did the right thing, Robert said, looking up at me. If you hadn't exposed this now, she would have faked a miscarriage in a few days, gotten more sympathy and attention, and the lies would have continued. At least now we know the truth. Jake was still standing, holding Mia's car seat, looking shell-shocked. My mother faked a pregnancy. For 9 months, and planned to fake losing a baby for sympathy. What kind of person does that? Someone who needs serious psychological help, I said gently. Jake, your mother has a disorder. This isn't normal narcissism. This is something deeper. Will anyone believe us? Jake asked. When people ask where the baby is. I'm posting the evidence tonight, I said. The medical records showing no pregnancy care. The timeline showing it was impossible. The messages proving it was planned. Your mother has been performing this pregnancy on social media for 9 months. It's only fair that the truth gets the same platform. That night, after we got home and put Mia to bed, I composed a Facebook post. It was long, detailed, and included every piece of evidence I'd gathered. 9 months ago, at my baby shower, my mother-in-law Linda Patterson announced she was pregnant. For the past 9 months, she's posted about this pregnancy on social media, accepted congratulations, and claimed to be expecting a miracle baby due today, September 15th. There is no baby. There was never a pregnancy. Linda faked the entire thing for attention. Here's the proof. Medical records showing no prenatal care. Photos of intensive workouts no pregnant woman could do. Testimony from her husband that they haven't been intimate. Text messages where she admits to planning the fake pregnancy. I'm posting this because many of you have been genuinely excited about Linda's baby, have bought gifts, have offered support. You deserve to know the truth. Linda Patterson is not pregnant and never was. She fabricated an entire pregnancy to steal attention at my baby shower and has maintained the lie for 9 months. Additionally, Linda has been having an affair and embezzling money from her husband. These are facts, not opinions, and they're documented. I take no pleasure in exposing this. But lies this big, maintained this long, hurt everyone involved. If you've been following Linda's pregnancy journey, now you know it was fiction. To Linda, get help, please. What you did isn't normal. And you need professional support. I showed the post to Jake before publishing. Are you okay with this going public? Jake read it, his face tired and sad. She made it public when she announced a fake pregnancy. Yeah, post it. I hit publish. The response was immediate and explosive. Within an hour, over 200 comments. People were shocked, outraged, asking questions. Linda's friends were tagging her, demanding explanation. Some people accused me of lying, asking for more proof. I provided it, uploading more evidence, more documentation. Linda's phone must have been blowing up because within 2 hours, she posted her own response. I'm devastated by these false accusations. I had a late-term miscarriage today. I lost my baby. And instead of supporting me, my family is attacking me online. This is the worst day of my life, but it was too late. Too many people had seen the evidence. Too many people had questioned her pregnancy story over the past months, and now had their suspicions confirmed. Comments on her post were brutal. We saw Sophia's proof. Stop lying. A miscarriage on your exact due date? Convenient. Get help, Linda. This is sick. Linda deleted her post within an hour. Then she deleted her entire Facebook account. The fallout was swift and comprehensive. The week after I exposed Linda's fake pregnancy was surreal. The story spread through Phoenix social circles like wildfire. Linda's friends called Jake, asking if it was true. Family members demanded explanations. People who'd bought baby gifts for Linda's September baby wanted answers. Jake handled calls from his mother's side of the family. Yes, it's true. No, she wasn't pregnant. Yes, we have proof. No, I don't know why she did it. Robert filed for divorce within 3 days. Linda tried to reconcile, showed up at the house crying, claiming she'd had a mental breakdown and needed support, not judgment. Robert called the police and had her removed. 32 years, Robert said when he came over to see Mia a few days later. I gave her 32 years, and the whole time I didn't really know her. You knew the version she wanted you to see, I said gently. People like Linda are very good at performing. The affair doesn't even surprise me that much, Robert admitted. The marriage has been dead for years. But the fake pregnancy, the planning, the calculation, the willingness to humiliate herself and everyone else, that's what I can't wrap my head around. She has a personality disorder, I said. Probably narcissistic personality disorder, maybe histrionic personality disorder. She needs professional help, but she has to want it. She thinks everyone else is the problem, Robert said. Even now, even after everything's been exposed, she's posting on her new Facebook account that she's the victim, that you're jealous and cruel, that I'm abandoning her in her time of need. Linda had indeed created a new Facebook account, this one set to private, where she was apparently telling a very different story. Jake got screenshots from a cousin. Linda was claiming she'd had a miscarriage, that I was lying about everything out of jealousy, that her family had turned on her when she needed them most. She's not going to accept responsibility, Jake said, looking at the screenshots. She's just going to create a new narrative where she's the victim. Let her, I said. Everyone who matters knows the truth. And eventually, her new friends will see who she really is too. But privately, I wondered if we'd done the right thing by exposing Linda so publicly. Yes, she'd lied spectacularly. Yes, she'd stolen attention at my baby shower and embarrassed her entire family. But now she was truly isolated. No husband, estranged from her son, reputation in ruins. Do you feel guilty? I asked Jake one night while we were feeding Mia. About what? About your mom. She's lost everything. Jake was quiet for a long moment. She didn't lose everything. She threw it away. She chose the affair, the fraud, the fake pregnancy. And when confronted with evidence, she doubled down on lies instead of taking responsibility. I feel sad for her. But guilty? No. She made her choices. What if she'd just apologized? I asked. What if, when we confronted her, she'd broken down and admitted everything and begged for forgiveness? Would you have forgiven her? I don't know, I admitted. But at least it would have been honest. The divorce proceedings revealed even more lies. Linda had 3 credit cards Robert didn't know about, maxed out to $80,000. She'd been paying them with money she'd embezzled from their joint account, not $40,000, but over $100,000 total over 3 years. She was funding an entire secret life, Robert's divorce lawyer explained to us. The affair with Kyle was just one piece. She had another boyfriend before him. She'd been taking girls' trips that were actually romantic getaways with these men. The fake pregnancy was almost insignificant compared to the financial fraud. Almost insignificant, I repeated. She faked being pregnant for 9 months and that's the least of her crimes? In terms of financial impact, yes, the lawyer said. The embezzlement is criminal. Robert could press charges if he wanted. I just want to be done with her, Robert said. Let her keep whatever's left of the money. I don't care. I just want the divorce finalized and to never see her again. Linda fought the divorce initially, claiming she deserved more, that she'd been a devoted wife for 32 years. But when Robert's lawyer presented evidence of the affair, the embezzlement and the fake pregnancy, Linda's lawyer convinced her to settle quickly and quietly. The settlement gave Robert the house, his retirement accounts, and most of the assets. Linda got her car and 20% of their savings, essentially a penalty for fraud. She'd have to find her own place to live, her own source of income, her own life. Where is she now? I asked Jake 2 months after the confrontation, living with Kyle, apparently. The 34-year-old. That'll last until her money runs out, or he realizes what she's actually like. Does she try to contact you? Constantly. Calls, texts, emails. I block her. She gets a new number. She shows up at my office. I've had to get building security involved. She's not going to stop, I said. I know. I'm seeing a therapist about it, learning about narcissistic parents, about setting boundaries, about why I feel guilty for protecting myself from someone who's hurt me repeatedly. It was good that Jake was getting help, but I worried about the long-term impact. How do you process discovering that your mother is capable of such elaborate deception? That she values attention more than honesty, more than relationships, more than you? Meanwhile, Mia was growing, smiling, babbling, hitting milestones, oblivious to the family drama that had surrounded her arrival. Robert visited often, a doting grandfather, engaged and present in a way he admitted he hadn't been when Jake was young. I worked too much when Jake was a kid, Robert told me during one visit. Left Linda to handle everything. Maybe that's part of why she is the way she is. I wasn't there to keep her grounded. But that's not an excuse for what she did. It's just context. Do you think she has any insight? I asked. Any understanding of what she did wrong? No, Robert said flatly. I talked to her lawyer. Linda genuinely believes everyone else overreacted. That faking a pregnancy was a cry for help that we should have responded to with compassion. That exposing her was cruel. She's reframed everything in her mind, so she's the victim. That's the thing about people with personality disorders. They can't see their own culpability. Every consequence is someone else's fault. Every boundary is an attack. Every loss is someone else's cruelty. 4 months after the exposure, Jake's phone rang with a number we didn't recognize. Against his better judgment, he answered, "Jake, it's Mom." I watched Jake's face tighten. "How did you get this number?" "I'm your mother. I'll always find a way to reach you." Linda's voice through the speaker was tearful, manipulative. "I miss you, baby. I miss Mia. Don't you think enough time has passed? Can't we move forward?" "Move forward from what, Mom? From you faking a pregnancy? From you having an affair? From you stealing money from Dad? I made mistakes. But I'm still your mother. You're really going to cut me out of your life forever because I had a moment of weakness?" "A moment?" Jake's voice rose. "You planned and executed an elaborate fraud for 9 months. That's not a moment. I was mentally ill. I was having a breakdown. I needed help, and instead, you all attacked me. We tried to help you by exposing the truth," Jake said. "And you responded by creating more lies, blaming everyone else, refusing to take responsibility. Because you don't understand?" "I understand perfectly," Jake interrupted. "You're a narcissist who can't stand not being the center of attention. And you're calling me now not because you've changed, but because you want something. What is it, money? Access to Mia? What?" Silence. Then Kyle left me. I'm alone. I need my family. There it was. Linda was alone, probably running out of money, and suddenly remembered she had a son. "That's not my problem," Jake said. "You destroyed this family. You don't get to come back when it's convenient for you. I'm your mother. Biologically, yes, but you stopped being my mother the moment you prioritized attention over honesty. Don't call this number again." Jake hung up. His hands were shaking. "I'm proud of you," I said, taking his hand. "I feel like a terrible son." "You're protecting yourself from someone toxic," I said. "That's not terrible. That's healthy." But I knew it hurt him. Rejecting a parent, even one who deserved rejection, went against every instinct. Jake had been raised to respect his mother, to put family first. Cutting Linda out felt like violating his core values, even though it was absolutely necessary. "Do you think she'll ever change?" Jake asked. "Honestly?" "No," I said. "People with personality disorders can manage their symptoms with intensive therapy, but only if they genuinely want to change. Linda doesn't think she needs to change. She thinks everyone else needs to appreciate her more. So this is permanent. No relationship with my mother for the rest of my life. Maybe," I said. "Or maybe someday, years from now, she'll have done enough work that a limited relationship is possible." "But Jake, that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to Mia, to our family. Not to fix your mother." 6 months after the exposure, Linda made one final grand gesture. She showed up at our house on Thanksgiving, carrying a turkey and pumpkin pie. "I'm here for Thanksgiving dinner," she announced when Jake opened the door. "I'm still family, and it's time to forgive and move forward. My parents were there. Robert was there. Jake's grandmother from his dad's side was there. Everyone stopped eating and stared at Linda in the doorway. "You're not invited," Jake said calmly. It's Thanksgiving. Family should be together. You're not welcome here, Linda, I said, coming to stand beside Jake. You need to leave. I have rights. I'm Mia's grandmother. You're the woman who faked a pregnancy to steal attention at my baby shower, I said. You're the woman who had an affair and embezzled money from your husband. You're the woman who has refused to take any responsibility for her actions. You have no rights here. Linda's eyes welled with tears, the performance starting. Robert, tell them. Tell them I deserve to be here. Robert stood up from the table. Linda, the divorce is final. You don't get to show up at family events anymore. Please leave. This is cruel. All of you are cruel. We're protecting our family, Jake said. Something you never did. Go, Mom, before I call the police. Linda stood there for another moment, turkey in hand, realizing no one was going to relent. Finally, she set the turkey down on the porch and walked away, crying dramatic tears. We watched her drive away. Then Jake picked up the turkey, examined it. Should we eat this? Absolutely not, my mother said firmly in Spanish. Who knows what that crazy woman did to it? We threw it away and finished our own dinner, but the moment had cast a shadow over the holiday. Linda's ability to insert herself into our lives, to create drama and chaos, seemed limitless. She's not going to stop, I said that night. I know, Jake said. But we can get a restraining order if she keeps showing up. Will you actually do that? Get a restraining order against your own mother? Jake was quiet. Then, if that's what it takes to protect my family, yes. The restraining order became necessary 3 weeks later when Linda showed up at Mia's daycare, claiming to be there to pick up her granddaughter. The daycare director called me immediately. Mrs. Patterson, there's a woman here claiming to be Mia's grandmother. She says you gave her permission to pick Mia up, but her name's not on your authorized list. My blood ran cold. Don't let her near my daughter. I'm calling the police and I'll be there in 10 minutes. I called Jake on the way. Your mother just tried to take Mia from daycare. She what? She showed up claiming she had permission to pick her up. Jake, she was going to kidnap our daughter. When I arrived at the daycare, police were already there. Linda was in the parking lot, crying and trying to explain to officers that this was all a misunderstanding. I'm her grandmother. I just wanted to see her. They're keeping my granddaughter from me. Ma'am, you're not on the authorized pickup list, one officer explained. You can't take a child without parental permission, but I am family. That doesn't matter, the officer said. If you're not authorized and you try to take a child, that's attempted kidnapping. Linda saw me approaching and her expression shifted from tears to anger. You're the one doing this. You've turned everyone against me. You tried to take my daughter, I said coldly, from her daycare, without permission. She's my granddaughter. She's my daughter, and you have no rights to her. None. The police took statements from the daycare director, from me, from Linda. Ultimately, they didn't arrest Linda because she hadn't actually taken Mia, just attempted to. But they issued a warning. If she came near the daycare again, she'd be arrested. Ma'am, do you want to file for a restraining order? One officer asked me. Yes, I said immediately. Absolutely yes. Jake arrived as the police were leaving. He looked at his mother with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not sadness, but complete detachment. You tried to take my daughter, he said quietly. I just wanted to see her. You're keeping her from me. Because you're dangerous, Jake said. Because you have no boundaries. Because you can't be trusted. And now you've proven exactly why we need to keep you away. I'm not dangerous. I'm her grandmother. You faked a pregnancy for attention, Jake said, his voice rising. You had an affair. You stole money. You lie constantly. And now you tried to take my daughter from daycare without permission. What part of that sounds safe to you? I would never hurt Mia. You hurt everyone you supposedly love, Jake said. Why would Mia be different? Linda had no answer for that. She got in her car and drove away, still crying, still playing the victim, even after attempting to take a child without authorization. We filed for the restraining order that afternoon. Jake's testimony was damning. My mother faked a pregnancy for 9 months to get attention. She has an untreated personality disorder. She refuses to accept responsibility for her actions. She had an affair, committed financial fraud, and has repeatedly violated boundaries. Today, she attempted to take my daughter from daycare without permission. She is unstable and potentially dangerous. The judge granted a 3-year restraining order. Linda Patterson was to stay 500 feet away from us, from our home, from Mia's daycare, from our workplaces. No contact, direct or indirect. Violation would result in arrest. When Linda was served with the order, she called Jake from a friend's phone, since he'd blocked her, screaming that he was dead to her. A son who gets a restraining order against his own mother. "You're not my child anymore." "I disown you." "Good," Jake said tiredly. "Maybe now you'll leave us alone." But narcissists don't give up that easily. For the next year, Linda tested the restraining order constantly. She'd drive past our house slowly, staying just over 500 feet away technically, but clearly violating the spirit of the order. She'd send letters through her lawyer. She'd show up at places she knew we'd be, always maintaining just enough distance to avoid arrest, but making her presence known. "She's trying to make us paranoid," Jake said after the 5th coincidental encounter at the grocery store. "She wants us to know she's always watching." "It's working," I admitted. "I feel like we're being stalked." Our lawyer filed for an expanded restraining order, documenting every violation. The judge agreed to extend it to 1,000 feet and added no visual contact provisions. If Linda even looked at us from a distance, it was a violation. That's when Linda made her biggest mistake. She created a fake Facebook profile under a different name and started posting about us. Not direct posts, but comments on mutual friends' posts. Things like, "Some people are so ungrateful to their parents," on photos of family gatherings. "Imagine keeping grandchildren from their grandmothers," on baby photos. Always vague enough to maintain deniability, but specific enough that everyone knew she was talking about us. I documented everything. Screenshots, timestamps, IP addresses, my forensic accountant skills coming in handy. I proved that the profile was Linda's through pattern analysis. Same writing style, same posting times, same friends gradually being added. We took it back to court. "This violates the no-contact provisions," our lawyer argued. "She's harassing them through social media." The judge agreed. "Mrs. Patterson, you seem determined to violate every boundary set for you. I'm holding you in contempt of court, 5 days in jail, and if you violate this order one more time, it'll be 30 days. Linda served 5 days in county jail. When she got out, she was furious, posting on her real Facebook about wrongful imprisonment, about corrupt judges, about vindictive daughters-in-law who destroy families. But she stopped showing up places. Stopped the drive-bys, stopped the fake profiles. 5 days in jail had finally convinced her that there were real consequences to her actions. "Do you think it's finally over?" I asked Jake. "I think she finally realizes we're serious," Jake said. "Whether that means it's over, or just that she'll find new ways to cause problems, I don't know." 2 years after the fake pregnancy exposure, Robert came over for dinner with news. "Linda's moving to California," he said. "Apparently she's met someone online, moving to San Diego to be with him." "Poor guy," Jake muttered. "Should I warn him?" Robert asked, half joking. "Would he believe you?" I asked. "Linda's very good at playing the victim. She'll tell him we're all crazy and he'll believe her until he sees it for himself." "That's what I figured," Robert said. "But I feel guilty not saying something." "You're not responsible for protecting people from Linda," I told him. "You spent 32 years doing that. You're done." Linda moved to San Diego 3 months later. The restraining order was still valid, but with 400 miles between us, it was less necessary. We could breathe easier knowing she wasn't lurking around corners. "How do you feel?" I asked Jake after we confirmed she'd moved. "Relieved, sad, guilty. All of it," Jake admitted. "I know cutting her off was necessary. I know she's toxic and dangerous, but she's still my mother, and part of me wonders if I could have handled it differently." "You couldn't have," I said firmly. "You tried boundaries, you tried communication, you tried giving her chances." She responded by escalating. "The restraining order wasn't your first choice. It was your only choice." "I know," Jake said. "But it still feels like failure." "It's not your failure," I said. "It's hers. Mia is 5 years old now. She has no memory of her paternal grandmother. When she asks about Daddy's mommy, we tell her age-appropriate truths. Grandma Linda made some bad choices, and we had to keep our family safe. Maybe someday we can have a relationship with her, but not right now." Mia accepts this easily, the way young children accept complicated truths. She has Robert, who's a wonderful grandfather. She has my parents, who dote on her constantly. She doesn't feel like she's missing anything. We had a second child 2 years ago, a son named Lucas. We didn't tell Linda. We didn't post about it on social media. We kept the pregnancy and birth completely private from her. There was no risk of her showing up to announce her own fake pregnancy this time. Linda, we hear through distant relatives, is living in San Diego with her boyfriend. The relationship apparently didn't last long, 6 months before he realized what she was really like. She's since dated several other men, always cycling through relationships quickly. She tells them all that her evil son cut her off for no reason, Robert told us, that she's the victim of a cruel family. Some believe her initially, but they all figure it out eventually. Does she ever ask about Mia? Jake asked. Or Lucas if she knows about him. She doesn't know about Lucas, Robert said. And she's stopped asking about Mia. I think she's created a whole fantasy where she never had a grandchild, where you never existed, where her life is something completely different from reality. That's how narcissists cope, by rewriting history to make themselves the perpetual victim or hero. I think about Linda sometimes, about the fake pregnancy, the stolen baby shower, the 9 months of elaborate lies. What possesses someone to do something so extreme for attention? Mental illness, my therapist says when I talk about it. Specifically personality disorders. People with narcissistic or histrionic personality disorder genuinely can't regulate their need for attention. It's not that they choose to lie. It's that their brain rewards them so strongly for attention that they'll do anything to get it, regardless of consequences. But don't they realize they're hurting people? On some level, yes, but they rationalize it. Linda probably genuinely believed she deserved to be the center of attention at your baby shower, that her need for celebration was just as valid as yours. The fake pregnancy wasn't, in her mind, a cruel trick. It was getting what she deserved. That's terrifying. It is, my therapist agreed. Because you can't reason with someone who fundamentally believes their needs supersede everyone else's. The only protection is distance. Jake's been in therapy for 3 years now, working through the trauma of having a narcissistic parent. He's learned about enmeshment, about why he felt guilty for protecting himself, about the patterns Linda established from childhood that made him feel responsible for her happiness. She trained me from birth to manage her emotions, Jake realized in therapy. Every time she was upset, it was my job to fix it. Every time she needed attention, I had to provide it. I was never allowed to be a separate person with my own needs. And now? I asked. Now I'm learning that I'm not responsible for her feelings. That protecting my family from her toxicity isn't cruel. It's necessary. But it's hard. Intellectually, I know I'm doing the right thing, but emotionally, I still feel like a bad son. You're not a bad son, I said. You're a good father and husband who made the difficult choice to protect his family. We still have the evidence I gathered. The fake pregnancy documentation, the messages about the affair, the financial records, stored securely in case Linda ever tries to rewrite history publicly. But mostly, we don't think about her. We're focused on raising our kids, on our careers, on building a life that's healthy and boundaried and peaceful. Robert remarried last year, a lovely woman named Janet, who's stable, kind, and completely different from Linda. Jake walked his father down the aisle, and it was emotional in the best way. Robert getting a second chance at happiness, at a healthy relationship. Do you think Linda knows I remarried? Robert asked at the wedding reception. Probably, I said. Small communities, word gets around. I wonder what she tells people about why our marriage ended. That you abandoned her, I guessed. That you chose your son's evil wife over her. That she's the victim, probably, Robert agreed. But I don't care anymore. I wasted 32 years caring what Linda thought. I'm done. That's the thing about dealing with narcissists. Eventually, you have to stop caring. Stop engaging. Stop trying to make them see reason or take responsibility. You have to accept that they're fundamentally different from emotionally healthy people, and protect yourself accordingly. Sometimes I see posts from Linda's social media. She's no longer blocked, just irrelevant. She posts photos of herself, always looking younger than her age, always curated perfection. She posts vague quotes about betrayal, about ungrateful children, about rising above adversity. She's created an entirely new friend group who presumably don't know about the fake pregnancy or the restraining order. Do you ever want to comment? Jake asked me once, looking at one of her ungrateful children posts. No, I said. She wants engagement. She wants me to defend myself so she can play victim. The best response is no response. Cold, Jake said. Strategic, I corrected. Everything with your mother has to be strategic. My parents sometimes ask if I regret exposing Linda so publicly. You could have handled it privately, my mother suggests. Family business should stay in the family. She made it public when she announced a fake pregnancy on social media, I remind her. I just corrected the public record. But it destroyed her, my mother says. She destroyed herself, I correct. I just documented it. That's the truth I've come to accept. I didn't destroy Linda. She did that herself through years of lies, manipulation, and refusal to take responsibility. I was just the forensic accountant who followed the evidence trail and presented the findings. Would I do anything differently? Maybe I would have gathered the evidence more quietly. Maybe I would have presented it to fewer people. But ultimately, exposing Linda's fake pregnancy protected other people from being manipulated by her in the future. It warned her social circle that she wasn't trustworthy. It documented a pattern of behavior that proved useful in court proceedings. Was it cruel? Maybe. But sometimes protecting yourself from someone toxic looks like cruelty to people who don't understand the full situation. Jake and I are planning Mia's 6th birthday party next month. It'll be at our house, a princess theme because she's deep in that phase. We'll invite her friends from school, our families, close friends. It'll be joyful and drama-free and exactly what a child's birthday should be. No. One will stand up and announce a fake pregnancy to steal attention. No one will make it about themselves instead of the birthday girl. It'll just be a normal, healthy family celebration. Something that should be simple, but feels like a victory after everything we've been through. Do you think Linda thinks about Mia? Jake asked me last week out of nowhere. On her birthday, does Linda remember she has a granddaughter she's never really known? I don't know, I admitted. I think Linda thinks about Linda. Everything else is peripheral. That's sad. It is, I agreed. But it's also not our responsibility to fix. We offered her chances, many chances, to be part of this family in a healthy way. She chose attention-seeking over relationships. That's on her. Sometimes people ask me about the baby shower, friends who weren't there, who heard the story secondhand. What was it like when she announced the fake pregnancy? Surreal, I tell them. One moment I was celebrating my baby. The next I was invisible. And I just knew, that something was very wrong. That no one announces a pregnancy like that unless they're desperate for attention or deeply disturbed. Possibly both. And you really stayed quiet for 9 months? I had to, I explain. If I'd accused her immediately, it would have been my word against hers. People would have said I was jealous, paranoid, cruel. I needed evidence, so I gathered it methodically for 9 months, let her dig herself deeper and deeper into the lie, and then presented everything at once when she couldn't wiggle out. That's so calculated. I'm a forensic accountant, I remind them. Calculated is what I do. The truth is, those 9 months were hard. Watching Linda maintain the lie, watching people congratulate her, knowing what I knew but having to wait for the right moment to expose it. There were times I wanted to scream the truth at everyone, times I wanted to confront Linda immediately, but I'm glad I waited. Because when I finally revealed everything, the evidence was undeniable. Linda couldn't claim misunderstanding or mistake. The pattern was too clear, the documentation too thorough, the lie too elaborate to excuse. And the affair, the financial fraud, those were bonuses I discovered while investigating the pregnancy lie. If I'd moved faster, I might never have uncovered the full scope of Linda's deception. Do you think she'll ever apologize? People ask. No, I say confidently. People like Linda don't apologize because they don't think they've done anything wrong. In her mind, she's the victim. We're the villains. The truth is whatever narrative makes her look best. That's exhausting. It is, I agree. That's why we're not in contact. You can't have a relationship with someone who fundamentally can't accept reality. My forensic accounting work now includes a specialty in family financial fraud. I've helped several clients uncover situations where family members were embezzling, stealing, or manipulating finances. Linda taught me to look for patterns, to trust my instincts when something feels off, to document everything. "You're good at this because you lived it," one client told me after I helped her prove her brother was stealing from their mother's estate. "Trauma makes you observant," I said. "You learn to see the warning signs." Jake recently told me that he's grateful, an odd word to use about discovering your mother faked a pregnancy and committed fraud. But he explained what he meant. "I'm grateful it happened when it did," he said, "before Mia was old enough to remember. Before my mom could do real damage to her. If we'd discovered who she really was when Mia was 10 or 12, when she had a real relationship with her grandmother, the betrayal would have hurt her too. This way, Mia never has to mourn the grandmother she thought she had." He's right. Mia has never known Linda as anything but an abstract concept. She's not missing a relationship. She never had one to miss. "Will you tell her the full story someday?" Jake asked. "When she's older?" "Maybe," I said. "If she asks, if she needs to understand why we don't have contact with your mother, but I won't volunteer it. I won't poison her perception of her grandmother unless there's a reason." What if Linda shows up someday? What if she tries to contact Mia directly when she's a teenager? Then Mia will be old enough to make her own choices, I said. We'll give her the tools to set boundaries, to recognize manipulation, to protect herself. But we can't control what Linda might do in the future. That scares me, Jake admitted. Me too, I said. But we can't live in fear of what might happen. We can only control what we do now. And right now, we're raising healthy kids in a stable environment, teaching them about boundaries and honesty and healthy relationships. That's the best protection we can give them. Last month, we got a message from one of Linda's California friends, someone who'd apparently heard Linda's side of the story and wanted to set us straight about how cruel we were to abandon her. I sent back the evidence. All of it. The fake pregnancy documentation, the affair messages, the financial fraud records, the restraining order filings, everything. The response, "Oh my God, she told us you kept her grandchild from her for no reason." She never mentioned any of this. She wouldn't, I wrote back. People like Linda rewrite history to make themselves the victim. But these are the facts. Do with them what you will. I don't know what that friend did with the information. Probably confronted Linda, who probably had explanations for everything, who probably eventually wore the friendship down until it ended. That's Linda's pattern. Brief, intense friendships that implode when people see behind the mask. Don't you feel bad for her? People sometimes ask, being alone like that? I feel bad that she has a mental illness that prevents her from having genuine relationships, I say. But I don't feel responsible for fixing her loneliness. She's alone because she consistently chooses manipulation over honesty, attention over authenticity. That's her choice. But she's mentally ill, which means she needs treatment, I say, not enablement. The kindest thing we can do for Linda is maintain boundaries and let her experience the natural consequences of her behavior. Maybe that'll eventually motivate her to get real help. Jake and I talk sometimes about what we'll do if Linda ever genuinely changes. If she gets intensive therapy, takes responsibility for her actions, demonstrates sustained behavioral change. Would you allow contact then? Jake asks. Supervised, limited contact after years of proof, I say. Not full reintegration into our lives. Too much damage has been done. But maybe video calls with Mia, supervised visits with us present. If, and it's a big if, she truly demonstrates change. Do you think that'll ever happen? Honestly? No, I admit. People with personality disorders can learn to manage symptoms, but full transformation is rare, especially without the person believing they need to change. Linda still thinks she's the victim. Until that changes, nothing else will. We live our lives now without Linda's shadow over them. We celebrate holidays without drama. We make decisions without her input or interference. We raise our children in peace. The house is often chaotic. Mia's art projects everywhere, Lucas's toys scattered across floors, the beautiful mess of family life. But it's our mess, our chaos, our joy. No one is filming us for attention. No one is making our moments about themselves. No one is stealing our celebrations for their own narcissistic supply. It's simple. It's healthy. It's everything Linda couldn't provide. And that baby shower 5 years ago, where Linda announced her fake pregnancy? When I think about it now, I don't feel angry anymore. I feel sad for her. That she was so desperate for attention that she destroyed her own life to get it. But mostly, I feel grateful. Grateful that we discovered who Linda really was before she could do more damage. Grateful for the evidence I gathered that protected us legally. Grateful that we had the strength to set boundaries and maintain them even when it was hard. The fake pregnancy wasn't the worst thing Linda did. The affair and financial fraud were objectively worse. But it was the most visible, the most undeniable, the thing that finally gave us permission to say, this person is not safe for our family. And sometimes, that's what it takes. A lie so big, so obvious, so indefensible that everyone can see it. Not manipulation hidden behind closed doors. Not subtle boundary violations that can be explained away. But something spectacularly, undeniably wrong. Linda gave us that gift, ironically. She gave us a reason that no one could argue with. A pattern of behavior so clear that even the people who wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt couldn't. And now we're free. Free to be the family we want to be, without her chaos, without her lies, without her desperate need for attention consuming every moment. Mia's 6th birthday is next month. It'll be perfect. It'll be about her, as it should be, and Linda Patterson won't be anywhere near it.